Okay, hi. I'm Claudia. I'm the founder and CEO at Banyan. We're a VC-backed startup that we were one of the first nucleations out of PL early last year. And we're going to talk about enterprise PMF today because, yeah, Banyan's in a good place to do that. So why enterprise? Web3 people claim that they will pay for storage. I was caught in by this at the start of my company. And as Juan just talked about earlier, the TAM of Web3 storage is quite small. They won't actually pay that much for it. Very few people will pay for it. A lot of founders will say, I want decentralized storage. Then they look at the product offerings and they go, just kidding, back to S3. So we're all kind of fighting for very little TAM in Web3. There was a Masari report early last year that just showed how small it was. And it was pretty horrifying. Most of it is small, and CDN speed NFTs is where most of this revenue is coming from, as far as I can tell, although there's not great statistics about it. So not good for Filecoin, because, we have that whole sealing and unsealing pesky thing going on right now. So we went and did a ton of user research. I had 3 of my employees full-time just talking to users for probably, I don't know how long, time's a blur. But yeah, we talked to 10 bigger enterprises, 40 SME, a lot of informal conversations. I sent my people to industry conferences like SIGGRAPH to talk to people who are all using Web2 competitors like Dropbox, Backblaze, S3, Wasabi, Colo Centers. These are all people who have real money to throw at data and data services, and we learned a lot. And then we also looked at Backblaze and Wasabi and Dropbox. They have published a lot of their market research, as well as HBS has done multiple case studies of Wasabi, Dropbox, and a little bit on Apple iCloud storage, but it's kind of bad. So yeah, this PowerPoint is basically summarizing all of these things that we've learned. So this is Banyan context. I'm sorry, I have the horrible habit of just putting so much text on my slides. So this is basically what we do. We have a local data preparation that packs everything into WNFS. That means we encrypt at the edge, which really decreases our liability. We do some optional car wrangling to, merge cars together, maybe, on our side, and then send to SPs through our high bandwidth offload, an unmetered connection to avoid cloud egress fees. We track hashes and state of, sharing on our servers in GCP. Eventually, we would like to have it so that multiple people can run the same server or at least have the same API. It just came from the local first conference at Strange Loop in St. Louis. Has talked a lot about that. And then, we also store all of this metadata on Filecoin. So you can get your files from Filecoin, even if Banyan drops you as a customer. Don't use Full Plus. We do our own retrievals and hot storage custom because nothing was ready on Filecoin. We do our own network permissioning using the UCAN protocol from Fission. We do our own SP monitoring on top of what exists on Filecoin. So we run something next to Boost and Lotus. We make the compliance promises as our own entity. We keep a lot of insurance. Our SPs are under contract and monitoring. We pay them directly in fiat, $250 per TIB per month, and then we may add extra payments for very high-speed bandwidth, but right now that's just for storage. We offer, yes, $2.50 per terabyte per month. Yeah, the SPs would be really excited, and I would be poor. By November GA, we will be Backblaze, Dropbox, and S3 main feature set competitive. We're iterating on additional product features to get more of a toehold with our targeted verticals to get more traction there and, entice them to switch, because switching is a hard prospect for a lot of them. We're selling directly to ACE and digital creatives right now. So that's architecture, construction, and engineering. To be clear, they have a lot of big files and a lot of weird sharing needs. And also they're very suable, but not very regulated. We sell indirectly to academics and through SP resellers as well. So yes, hi.
At $250 per TIB per month, is that, in your opinion, are they breaking even, or are they?
I don't know, but they're biting.
Revenue from idle capacity, or?
I don't know, but they're biting.
Okay.
This is something you'd have to ask him about. He handles all of the SP side negotiations, so they're willing to sign contracts with us at that level.
And at that
We would still have margin if we bump.
Contract or
Sorry?
month to month?
I think right now we're doing duration contracts and literally renting capacity. So we're just renting the entire multi-tib right now. Or I think we're renting 3 petabytes from people right now and saying, give us SSH access. Eventually, this is for iterating on our daemons that are running on the Filecoin side. Once we actually launch to a broader SP market, it's going to be more.
And which continents would you had a circle in, which
I think
continents?
right now we've got 1 European and 2 North American. And then we've talked to people from a lot of other places. Like the SPs are kind of like, there seems to be a lot of interest at that price point. So we're testing that price point out. More questions?
Yeah, 2.5. Do they store an unsealed copy as well?
So that is for either sealing a copy to Filecoin and keeping only the sealed copy, or not touching Filecoin at all. We may add a proofs layer that's like Filecoin style Merkle proofs at some point, but right now our hot doesn't touch Filecoin at all. And that means like, so for our hot storage product, that's going to be like a couple SPs storing hot copies that can be streamed immediately. And then if both of them go down, you can go and recover and unseal from a cold copy. Yeah.
Are you storing just, when a customer says, I want you to store data, do you store just one SP or do you store multiple SP?
The replications are an option. We're still figuring out how we want to present those options to the user. I think we're going to have a default, and then you can like unhide something to configure. Our pricing is done by number of cold copies plus number of hot copies per month, and then you can buy like capacity bundles.
And then do you monetize egress too?
Yes. I think currently our pricing bundle is we charge the same as Backblaze, which is $10 per terabyte egress. People don't really seem to care that much about egress fees as much as like everyone says they do. So anyway, that's something I'm going to go over later. I have 24 slides. Can I? Yeah. Is it okay if I just like blitz through and we ask less questions? Sorry. Yeah. So we have our own reseller pipelines. Product was live as of like Wednesday or Thursday last week after wrangling a data corruption bug from WNFS and car file generation. Alpha build will be in users' hands today. Data will be on real SPs in the wild, sealed to Filecoin, not just like sitting on their servers. In October, November, it will be GA and feature complete enough to launch. We spent the past 7 months doing user research, talking to users, building a lot of infrastructure. Okay, so my thesis is B2B storage, like enterprise storage, needs some basics. You won't scale with business data unless you have these basics. It's ease of product use for their desired workflows, upload and retrievability timelines fit the needs, whatever those needs are, and I will go over the scale of those needs. Juan went over that a little too. Competitive pricing with cloud hyperscalers for the feature set that provide the same feature set. And then the second thing you need is trust. That includes SLAs and court venue. The bigger the entity you get, the more risk averse they are. Encryption and privacy, pretty easy for us. And then compliance, which is hard depending on how you do it. So let's go over product and usability first. People want two things. 98% of the time, they don't want to think about their data. The 2% of the time that they do think about their data, they want to use it quickly and painlessly. So that's not just access it, that's use it, the way that they want to use it. So one is partly compliance and security and partly writing corruption-free code, and then just like not ever sending them an email about the data because you don't need to, because there's nothing they need to do. They want it to be gone from their head, like a storage unit. You don't want to look at your stuff, you want it to be there. So two is solved with a range of products that serve exactly what the customer needs to do with their data painlessly. Extra true for enterprise. If you can eliminate a team for them, you win. They buy. So this is part of why we've chosen the verticals that we've chosen, because right now they have teams and people who are really, really freaking suffering about data management stuff, and we're able to automate that away, and then they will buy. Cool. So yeah, MVP, basic ops can be manual. Obviously we're working on it, but people don't have time for data pain. I just kind of wrote up what it looks like to onboard data onto Filecoin. The exceptions to this are there are some apps, like SP side apps that are already pretty good. There's things like web3.storage doesn't scale. There's things like estuary breaks all the time, doesn't scale. Getting it back is annoying and ugly. There's a lot of people working on it. Obviously, the competitive thing, we've got things like Spade, retrieval markets, blah, 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 data preparation services. Eventually that will work. Very exciting. For now, Banyan has slapped a lot of centralized band-aids on the system, and that's okay. We're looking forward to migrating off of them. Whoa. Okay, yeah, so I have yet to see a Filecoin-based storage app with paid PMF. There's some things that kind of work, but it doesn't really see the kind of thing that I would call PMF for myself, if I was being honest with myself, so okay. A lot of things don't have very good TAM. Can I get to questions at the end and just keep going fast? Yeah, exactly. For my version of PMF, what I would call PMF for myself, the standards I hold myself to, I wouldn't call any of this PMF. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't understand. I thought,
might also fit in there.
yes, exactly. Product market fit, like Paul Graham, people are pulling the product out of your hands kind of thing. So yeah, cargo culting Web 2 apps with Web 3 features bolted on will not sell. So you need to find a toehold because, the entrenched incumbent is really popular. Study the storage apps and study user behavior very, very carefully. See what they do with the products and see what's painful for them. And when they start getting angry, listen, this is like Y Combinator 101. But yeah, make the data flows easy and simple. It's not data storage, it's data flows is what's really important. It's what do they do with the data? So some of our targets are like, we have to move from the storage to the backup storage to the transfer to the display. And I'm like, that all sounds horrible. And you have to do it manually. And they're like, yeah, and when I edit the video with someone, we have to spend 40 minutes through Dropbox making sure all the files are at the right location. It's 40 minutes off my morning. And then, my intern has to go manually track everything in a spreadsheet as I put it into S3. And I have to hire a developer who tells me I'm not allowed to touch S3. And then I go touch it anyway. And then he gets mad. And I'm like, oh my God. So when you start hearing stuff like that, that's like, okay, pounce. But if you don't hear that, people aren't saying, oh my God, my NFTs that my enterprise can't store 3 petabytes of, wrong product. Decentralization as a buzzword in itself does not sell. There are some other words that do track with users, like local first, I think is something that's going to get traction. I think that's something where I think, if us and other bigger entities, PL, do a big blast about local first software in team with that movement, I think there's a really good Wired article about it that could sell. Privacy sells, immutability and resilience sell, but decentralization, people are like, you're going to rug me? And it's like, no, sorry. They don't understand. They won't buy on something that they don't understand. You have about 30 seconds to sell it to them. You need to use buzzwords that fit in with narratives that are already in their brain. So yeah, decentralization doesn't sell. Figure out an advantage that will be communicated within the 15 seconds that you have their attention enough to separate them with their money or from their money. Yeah, so cloud storage is super mature. We just brought on the content guy from Dropbox who got laid off after 10 years. Woo, big win. But his first reaction was, oh my God, cloud storage is so entrenched. How are you going to do anything at all? Well, my answer is find a slightly underserved market that's in pain because there hasn't been a product that's been built directly for their needs yet. You can still find a toehold. You just have to find the discomfort with the data UIs. So what we did is we filtered down to things that, aren't super regulated, so no healthcare, have pretty generalized data needs, and then start looking for where people are not looking so cozy. And that's how we've been able to start having people be interested. You're gonna have to sell. It's gonna have to be hands-on. There should be more startups than us selling with specialized product interfaces because we can't build all of the specialization that needs to happen. We will build a lot of integrations, and then other startups who have hyper-specialized data interfaces, we're happy to work with them as well. We're gonna have pretty good programmatic ways to access data pretty soon, or to bring data on pretty soon. Integrations, you need them. Very important. You usually do them with data flows. This is why all of these products have worked or would not work. Glacier without the rest of AWS, no. Nobody uploads directly to Glacier, even though it's $1 per TIB per month. G Drive is killing Dropbox because G Drive has way superior integrations. Backblaze without NAS direct integration or computer backup direct integration would not sell. So you need to think about that. Go hottish or go home. Most of the Glacier TAM is very entrenched, very mature, and very highly regulated. The people who keep petabytes of backups are usually doing that because they're suable, they're very risk averse, they're in a highly regulated industry, there's usually privacy concerns. So we tried to sell directly into that, and then everyone was like, who are you? You crypto? Bye. And we're like, okay, sorry. Doing something a little bit more up and down the stack, like maybe Backblaze speed or a little faster, integrating with faster, and then you can take it and kick it back to slower. That's good. Saturn is not ready to compete. I don't know, happy to talk about that later, but I don't think it's ready to compete. It's not ready for us to use. We're thinking about doing something like custom Band-Aid that looks like a CDN next year, probably pretty centralized, or maybe decentralized. That's what potential investors seem to want, but I don't know. I don't really want to build that. I have other things to do. It's hard to incentivize bandwidth instead of storage. We've seen there's 6 different problematic cryptographic constructions for that, and then browser compatibility is a mess too. So I don't know if that's hard. So we're going for Goldilocks middle area. It's opened a lot of doors for us, but yeah, integrations very important, and integrations across the vertical speed stack is a really important way to think about this. Pricing, yeah, so here's some pricing data points. People are actually really, really flexible when it comes to pricing, which is cool. So Glacier is like bare minimum, $1 per terabyte per month. I don't know if Filecoin will ever get there without being cloud hyperscalers, especially as the block rewards die off. No offense to Filecoin. So yeah, Dropbox, it can be like over 150 or the limit of purchase 0. Most people don't actually care that much about the cost of their data storage as long as it's safe. And we've actually heard people say this verbatim. As you get into bigger enterprises that are storing more and more data, they're looking to shave dollars off the cost. But if that shaving comes off at the expense of, we have to hire a team to do this, or I have to think about it all the time, like they actually don't care that much. So people are pretty flexible. Bandwidth is $10 to $40 per tib, depends on speed. Sometimes it's free. Backblaze and Wasabi are upper end of single digits. People do look more sensitive to that. So right now, I think we're cheaper than Backblaze or Wasabi. We may not stay there. We may just like grandfather people onto this plan and then start advertising higher prices. Like we're not going to jack prices up on our customers, but like we're able to break even on that. SPs seem okay with that. People seem to care less than you think about egress fees. We're still iterating on our pricing. Daily posts and small mining operations, I think, are going to be a big impediment to $1 per tib per month, which is where you're competing with AWS Glacier. So I think Filecoin should just win on features. And my team put together really crazy competitor price data spreadsheet, which, sorry, I will not be sharing, but I did want to shout them out because they worked really freaking hard. And also these people were the people that did calls. Paying in Filecoin, mostly a non-starter. I have cut all cryptocurrency out of my business. My Filecoin notary wallet has been moved to my personal ledger. Not that I use it that much, sorry. People like invoices, accounting tools for crypto are really, really bad. Our first accountants actually fired us because I moved around USDC and took investment money in USDC. They didn't like that. Our new accountants are nicer, but they don't like it. Anyway, they're like, Claudia, what was that? Why did it go through Coinbase? I'm like, there's no crypto rails that work. Please help. So this is just a non-starter. Customers need to pay for storage in fiat. They need normal invoices. They're probably going to need that for the next 10 or 15 years. My answer to that is it's fine, whatever. Like, that's okay. Come to them. SPs may be more open to weird payment models, taking payment in fill, and they still prefer like fiat on the dot, especially because of fill price volatility, which is something I've been like yelling about for a while. I think they may be more open to stable coins than customers. But I'm still just like, I don't want to implement that. My engineers have more important things to do. Yeah. Aside about pricing, Fill Plus is a non-starter for Banyan right now because we can't use it at all because our data is encrypted, and it's super weird if a notary comes and looks at that. Like, how in the hell are we going to say, we sold you an encrypted storage product, but this guy who was randomly voted by a cryptographic protocol, like he was selected this round, yeah, he's from Taiwan. He needs to come look at your data. Can you like please open it up for him? Like, no, absolutely not. So, that's like weird. That's just like super weird. That'll break our SOC 2. That'll break like all sorts of stuff. So,
Have you thought about which Fill Plus allocation strategies would work for your clients?
Yes. My opinion is that you guys should audit businesses that are bringing people on. Like, come look at our financials. We would open those up. Come look at, our BD. Like, we can, like, come do like an audit basically on us, the entity. We would be super, super happy to present all the data needed, and then give us like some allocation annually is my opinion. But my opinion is Filecoin Plus either needs to scale and work for entities like us that are trying to scale rapidly, or it needs to go away because it's a bad use of like all the SPs are like freaking out about this constantly instead of like being productive. So it's like half of Filecoin seems to be freaking out about this instead of being productive. So I think it's a waste of time unless it scales. And I think the way to scale is audit businesses, which is why I've been yelling about like, why don't you just have Ernst Young run it like a dictatorship, which seems to be unpopular. But what I mean by that is just, yeah.
It's designed to have many different allocator systems.
Yeah.
So it's not an either or question.
Awesome.
It's a cool for this use case and maybe for other enterprises in the room. This is a solution for one allocator that can be allocated a set of data cap that does a new enterprise plus SOC compliant Fill Plus allocation system.
Yeah.
Booyah, that can happen in parallel to the current eFill Plus, in parallel to the large data notary, in parallel to one that requires public data retrievability.
Who do I pester for this?
Like, I think there's a Fill Plus track.
Okay.
Come talk in that
Okay.
and propose, hey, we need an allocator system that looks like this.
I didn't even know
And
that
let's fucking
allocator
do it.
systems were an option because I came to them and said, like, this is a non-starter. We can't participate in this. And they just kind of said, Filecoin Plus is not right for you. And I went, okay, we can
I
make a
think-
margin without it, I guess. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
that eFill Plus, the one that's been designed so far, it's like, cool.
Okay.
We're focused on this area. It's like, great.
I wasn't clear that there is this opportunity. So, okay, I'll go chat with them because, yeah, we would really love a lot of our SPs. I think Seal said you guys wanted data cap from
You just
us.
had to draw a line. And
Yeah, that's fair. Like, and we were like, data cap's hard for us. Let's keep talking. So, okay, if we can,
That's great.
Yeah.
wonderful. Yay.
Data cap, no data cap in dollars is probably a better outcome than just data cap.
Well, I mean, Banyan's not so selfishly, Banyan's not exposed to Filecoin at all right now, except for my personal like 3 months of being an L3 engineer, Filecoin token investing. I would like us to be more exposed to Filecoin. However, I don't want to market buy Filecoin with VC funds. I could do that with our revenue once we get it, but we're talking about like block reward kickbacks from the SPs in our like ecosystem as part of their contracts. So I would really love if they were getting substantial block rewards because Banyan would like to be exposed to Filecoin. But other than that, yeah, I don't know. Part 2, trust. We should continue all these conversations later. I just want to make sure we get through everything because it's like content dense till the end. Yeah, everyone hates this. Part of the ROI on paying you is so that they can sue your ass. That's what they want. They are paying you to take responsibility for the safekeeping of data. This is why Arweave sucks because nobody has responsibility for the safekeeping of data. Whoa, there's guys walking on the roof out there. That's so cool. I want to walk on the roof. Okay, yeah, it's not to hold the data and get slashed if you stop because that's your pain and like revenge helps like people feel better when they're wronged, but not businesses. And it's not to rent hard drives, definitely not to rent hard drives. Slashing some collateral is not sufficient to offset the pain of losing data. Data from Backblaze, and they have a lot more about ransomware as well in this market report that I found. I think it was like in the high 50s or low 60s of businesses going to bankruptcy within a year of the adverse data loss event. So it's really freaking bad. It's really bad. You can fall out of liability or like fall out of like compliance with all your stuff, like besides like actually using it in the day-to-day. So yeah, court cases, contracts, SLAs, fix this. You can make the business whole. You can have some kind of reparation. At least the miner lost some Dogecoin. Sorry, I'm being very rude about the crypto tokens, but this is how the users feel. They're like, oh, the miner lost some Filecoin. Wow, I feel so much better that I'm out of business. So yeah, it doesn't make you feel better in bankruptcy court. Yeah, so the problem with this is getting a contract directly with the miners. Miners are very low margin, and we shouldn't expect them to be high margin because that decreases the decentralization of the network. So most of them are not liquid enough to be suable, or if they're big, they may have their entity set up in a way that it's very hard to sue them and get to the actual like liquid Filecoin block rewards. So they rarely have appropriate insurance. Some of the bigger ones do, not all of them. They're in crazy, wacky jurisdictions. They have weird incorporation structures because they're in crypto. Many are averse to KYC, as Caro's team recently saw. Not a risk that a large enterprise can take. So I'm going to talk about how Banyan fixes this in a second. A few can take sufficient liability for a broader enterprise market, but it's not a big set. That increases the centralization, and that creates a system where you have what we have right now, where you've got these big SPs that have a whole BD operation because maybe they have a business on the side and they just ship off a couple copies of the data to the little guys who are kind of picking up the scraps. A lot of the time they'll take a cut of their block rewards. Like, I mean, Banyan being in that position is not a great system either, but it's, I don't know. Like, I think that this, like, putting more requirements on the miners increases the centralization and decreases the autonomy and ability to just spin up a miner and run. So yeah, this is how Banyan does it. So we have a 2-tier trust system. I call it the CDO tranches for subprime enterprise cloud storage. We have better monitoring than just rooms full of data that nobody reads and then the economy crashes, so don't worry. But yeah, so we're a boring Delaware C Corp, boring VC funding plus revenue. Eventually we'll get financial audits, probably around our Series A, compliant, secure, and very soothing. Like, look at the colors on our website. We have an enterprise quality SLA that we're writing with a legal team right now. We will have SOC 2 Type 1 by December, and then SOC 2 Type 2 by the December after that, the monitoring period. We have a big money insurance policy. And enforceable local contracts with the people that we're working with. So right now we're a Delaware C Corp, and our contracts with our users will be enforceable as soon as we've written them. And then we have crappier SLAs with the various sizes and maturity of SP entities. Like, some people are serving hot and have very high SLAs. Eventually we'll have like tiered pricing for providing us higher SLAs, and like more support and stuff. Yeah, lighter cyber controls, like we might say you need to be in this kind of data center instead of this kind. We're still kind of doing the research about the market for that to figure out exactly what we need to ask from them. Really big SPs, we may ask to have insurance if they're storing like a lot of hot data, but we're still, again, we need to figure out like what's the exact like numbers of who has what insurance, and enforceable local contracts. So right now it's very easy for us to sue you if you're an American or Canadian. We're gonna do the research about other legal systems and figure out, you know, like how do we go after an SP if they really screwed us, but hopefully we've limited our exposure to one SP going down ever. Yeah, so basically tranching, reselling, and having them backstop each other on, you know, bandwidth, cold replicas, hot replicas, sealing capacity, eventually like compute and CDM kind of stuff. So yeah. Let's go to security. Enterprises are more paranoid than individuals because they can afford to be paranoid. Everyone would be paranoid if they had the time and effort to do that. No individual has a security team. Enterprises do. So yeah, random nodes, notaries, entities looking at the data, not okay. Random people retrieving encrypted data, also not okay. So you need to permission the network. We did that custom with UCANs. So easy is build an encrypted product. That's really easy. Yeah, so, you know, we know how to do that. We built that, we end-to-end encrypt, or just have a centralized layer in between. If they trust you, they're okay with you seeing the data. See Amazon S3 as an example. Hardware is retrieval permissioning. The SPs do have access to the data. They could just go CP on their computer, and you know that would be the data moved out. So that's definitely harder. You have to figure out how to actually enforce that and make sure that they're doing the thing, which for us means contracts. Miners doing full security policies, I recommend against. Decentralized. It's a little bit easier if you have them under contract and can say, we're going to come check you, you know, twice a year. Random times, and if we find that you're, you know, messing up, here are the consequences. Doing this decentralizedly, again, is just like, I don't know, are you gonna put keycard policies on chain? No, you're not. Are you gonna put that they have like the proper like power backups on chain? Like, no, you're not. So I don't recommend that. Yeah, they only get the encrypted data. They have to use our permissions retrieval setup for our data. They have to agree to and pass some checks on, eventually like random check program, the basic cyber requirements. We can custody the user's key to add S3. We've looked at video transcoding as well. And then, you know, naturally, like our system's natural state is end-to-end privacy. Like we can just have them issue a device key to us if they want us to do something with it. Yeah, access controls and deletion are really, really important. You need both protocol and boost/Lotus level support. So boost/Lotus level support can look like a Kerberos style. You need to check a UCAN before, which is like a JWT with asymmetric key pair, before you serve encrypted data to a user. So for us, this looks like Kerberos. We're the certificate authority. You could also decentralize this with lit protocol, or you could just do it like end to end with, you know, just users are issued a cryptographic key pair. You should avoid users maintaining their own cryptographic key pair, by the way. Not even enterprises really want to do this. So this is why we have like, they basically OAuth to us and then we will sign a credential. So it's kind of like account abstraction for Filecoin through Banyan. And then they have like device keys that they can just issue new ones to themselves. So they actually have to manage those key pairs, but they're managing like 1 of 6. Lit protocol could work for that. I wouldn't use it yet. Let's see how they develop. For deletion, we're doing wipe the cryptographic key. This works at the object store level because we support like buckets with files in them. Delete immediately for many hot replicas that we have. Filecoin's kind of more of a problem because that means slashing. So we can say refuse to serve or unseal that cold copy at the retrieval permissioning level. Eventually, maybe we can say we'll pay you out to get slashed, which is not good for Filecoin consensus safety. So a protocol improvement for this could be like, yeah, you know, snap deals or like consensual slashing. And then, yeah, add Alex North FIP time. This would be really something that would be good to support. Just say like, kill this now, don't impact the consensus, downgrade it to a CC. I don't know if miners would always agree to downgrade it to a CC. We can make them, but that's, again, not a great solution. Yeah, so this is one of my last slides. There are a lot of security certifications. They overlap a lot. Most industries need one, possibly multiple, to use the storage. The more like real, which means, you know, the more budget they have, the more certifications, they're more likely to need to use the storage. All the cloud hyperscalers and all your competitors already have them. That's why they're your competitor. They cost a lot of money for each org to complete. I've heard of like 2 SPs, and that is Seal and Picnic, that are working on SOC 2 right now. I don't know if they're working on anything else. You can correct me on that. I don't think anyone else is. Okay, cool. Awesome. That's good on you. That's really intense. Okay. Okay, cool. All right, more than we knew about. That's still only 4. Not great. That's not a lot of data that they can have. Certifying more SPs eats up block rewards. You should think of block rewards as like, modern monetary theory. That's the inflation. That's basically like Filecoin's treasury. That's our potential to create growth in the future. Should go to more productive things than certifying 100 little data centers as SOC 2. Please don't do that. So the AWS Outpost model is how AWS, they have like hybrid cloud stuff. So they'll put a little thing in someone's data center and they'll say, if you talk to it in this way, you can keep your SOC 2 compliance, scaled to these things. So the app layer, so for us, we have a version of that where it's like the app layer does SOC 2 once. We have something embedded doing monitoring at the miner. And we ship data to them, and they're under a compliant monitoring program, which is partly programmatic and partly in person. So this saves a lot of money, time, and effort. Everyone can store certified data. We're the only ones that have to go through it, so generalized cost savings. The protocol itself could also get certified. This is probably impossible. However, we did publish a Solidity compliance DAO spec on our GitHub. We got turned down for a grant for that. I'm not salty at all. Actually, not salty at all. I just mentioning it sounds salty. So we aren't using it because not enough SPs are compliant. But this is something where an entity like someone who is authorized to grant SOC 2 can publish on chain, the SOC 2 data. Here's a content hash where you can view the report, if you have the permissions or like the encrypted report or something, tie it to wallets on chain, and then also send revocation information. So that's just like a Solidity proposal kind of like spec that like Mazars could use it, EY could use it, High Trust could use it. To say that this address is in conformance and everything stored under this address is in conformance. I think that's something that we should put into prod eventually, but not enough SPs are compliant. For now, it could be used for maybe ESG or this person has KYC to the Filecoin Foundation or something like that. But yeah, something like this should exist, and it should be standardized so that you can have a marketplace of certificates. But I think that's a while out because, again, a lot of miners are not that mature. So yeah, this is the reprise. This is the basics that we've found you need. I think if you can achieve these, then you can start competing on features. Start. Because right now it's very hard to get people to switch because it's very, they have to move all their freaking data and all their processes. But if you have these things, you can start pulling most of the market. Banyan's response to all this, we've slapped a lot of centralized prod-ready band-aids. We're excited for things like Spade to work. We've spent a lot of time talking to customers about data flows, and we're adapting to that. We're really trying to have professional non-Web3 branding. The people who have storage products with Web3 branding are just not going to go well. Yeah, we're fighting unicorns like Dropbox, hyperscalers like AWS, so we know we're disadvantaged. We're trying our best. We think we found a small product edge in a couple verticals in mid-market, small, medium enterprise data storage. We have to iterate a lot. The 2-tier system from before means that we're okay on legal and compliance. We're going to market in verticals with lighter compliance standards, just being less entrenched, less served, people where there's kind of gaps in the existing cloud storage landscape. And then we're able to at least they'll talk to us, right? Some of them are pretty close to LOI territory. And then in Web3, people are very excited. They're oh, you're professional? Oh, you actually want to provide SLAs to us? And we're yes. And they're yes. And it's good. So yeah, we're going to get used to selling by selling to these easier ones. Iterate, go for pickier customers. That's it. Does anyone have questions? Cool.
What are your thoughts on use of the word blockchain positioning?
We prefer cryptographic proofs. Yeah, we will mathematically prove to you that your data is stored. Depending on how free thinking they are, we aren't going to lie about the fact that we're on Filecoin, but when you type Filecoin crypto, the first thing that comes up is that Chinese Ponzi scheme that happened that wasn't even Filecoin affiliated.
But blockchain, we get
Yeah.
residents there. Again, it's functional, what they understand. But
Some people like it,
disassociation or
but
understanding
yes.
that it's technology more than it is.
So a lot of executives do understand that because there's the big blockchain verification and trust push a couple years ago for supply chains and stuff. But FTX has really scared people. There are people who just say, like, get me off your mailing list in very, very rude terms when we cold email because of this. It's not everyone, but you really do have to suss out, like, their education level. So what we put actively on our website and, like, push out to the world is cryptographic proofs, I believe.
How do you win on SEO with that?
I don't know.
Because it's
Our
really-
SEO is not very good right
it's
now.
a really scary search term. It brings up all the bad,
Okay.
so you should be careful on that one.
Cryptographic proofs?
Yeah, brings up all the bad.
Just the crypto part, are we the?
Crypto,
Crypto.
oh.
We got the same.
Oh my God, my eye's twitching.
That was gonna get 7 really scary links. Don't.
We're gonna talk about SEO because we're kicking off an intensive, like, SEO program about a month ago, but we're, like, keeping on it. It's hard. It's
Keep
hard.
in
We're
your
bad at
trail
it.
Documentation, once you have them on the hook, they'll love it.
Keep
The
who?
data people will love it, like
Love.
the chief security officer or
Yeah.
the CPO loves that term.
Yeah.
But
But-
keep it off your website for now.
I don't have anywhere to write that down right now, but I will. We're gonna talk. We're gonna
I'll
talk,
put it- I'll
please.
talk with you.
Thank you so much.
I find if we pitch to the corporate level people and mention crypto, blockchain, anything in that department, it's a hard no.
Yeah.
The moment we speak about it to the technologists in the company, sweet, great.
Oh, wow.
Learn about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now we've been talking to, like, mostly, so we've talked to, like, it's the ones that I have directly spoken to and been able to gauge the sentiment. My team is a whole different story. They have a lot more, like, rich and granular data about all this, which is what a lot of this is pulled from, is their, like, aggregations. But the people I've talked to have mostly been, like, semi-technical sole proprietors. The ones I've talked to directly, because they're the ones who are closest to closing. The semi-technical sole proprietors tend to be pretty warm about it, but not necessarily. The ones who are less technical also, yeah, tend to be more scary. I'm just going around in this direction, so I guess Stefan.
Actually, you mind going back to that slide where you talked about, these are some of the integrations that should happen at a use level? I'm trying to collect some
Do, 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 do.
action
Your
items.
roadmap?
Yeah.
Yeah, here you
I'm
go.
gonna hold on
Yes.
to the roadmap because
So
one
it's
of the-
it's this, the deletion or, like, consensual slashing, whatever. It's the you can permission data retrieval. And the third thing that I think we need to add is what Molly mentioned, is the
Having an additional Fill Plus allocator.
yeah, Phil Plus via horrifying Big Four auditors.
Go for it. I'm connected to that. Can you describe what you would envision as the demotion of sealed data to CC sector and how that would work for Banyan? And so we have the idea of having CC sectors in reserve that are like pre-printed floppy disks to do snap deals and bring them back online. The counterpoint to that you just introduced to me for the first time is having sealed data and demoting it back down to CC sector.
Well, I mean, I don't really have, like, a concrete plan for that, and obviously it's problematic because that'll make the miner mad. That'll release collateral from the Filecoin security. But, you know, it's not really storing, like, useful data anymore, but we definitely, like, wanted it deleted. So, I mean, we could just have, like, some kind of, like, snap deal adjacent thing where we go from one data to nonsense data, but that doesn't really feel honest to Phil Plus. And I don't think it's great, but it's probably, like, I'm just worried that the like SP would be like, I don't want to lose my block rewards, and, you know, the network shouldn't be reducing its consensus security ever. So this is a question for crypto econ team. All I know is we need to delete. So
Could you deal with the demotion of a block of data that happens to be 32 gig because you're having to,
me personally, sure. The SPs might be mad though.
well, if we can fix the game theory behind the SPs by being able to repurpose and reuse this floppy disk that happens to be 32 gig through the demotion of, does the data, the bits in that sealed sector have to change at that point? Let's suppose we snap in a null sector as a deletion thing, so the sector still lives on chain, and we downgrade the rewards with it. I'm trying to figure out the game theory behind this.
Yeah.
Be able to have go from CC, snap in, deal expiration, delete, so we revert back to a CC state. And at the same time, the SP has been able to meet its requirements for proof of space-time on this thing. So, and I also wanted to dovetail one other related thing. Slashing burns Filecoin, and we look at the scarcity rewards, but that doesn't satisfy. That doesn't render enough punishment from the point of view of a Banyan for losing data.
Yep.
What if, is there something we can do to the game theory behind this so that instead of simply
They could pay
burning
me.
that stuff, that it goes back to Banyan as
Yeah, that would be good. That probably creates some kind of gameable loop in the chain security game theory. Like it should be burned.
There are two different pieces for that. There's the consensus slash.
Yeah, but we don't want to pay in Filecoin, and they also don't want to collateralize extra without getting extra block rewards. So that's collateral is much harder to ask them to do than just sign this contract. By the way, so it's I don't know. This is again like this is a hard problem. So that's
If we can achieve, if we all understand the problem, there's multiple things that are coming to mind right now that, to make the mechanics of this, to make the game theory of what again, we don't sell virtue in, none of it. So we got into this because it's a virtuous thing that has a lot of potential. Distributed storage is a virtuous effort for us. Virtue does not sell. Solutions sell.
yeah.
And so transforming the virtues that we have into things that are commodity sellable, and fixing a couple of the mechanical processes, like being able to scope the lifetime of the sector from CC to sealed and unsealed again, delete the data,
Yeah.
and being able to rejigger the penalty for failure in such a way so just instead of evaporating Filecoin, that there's actually remuneration based on the contract, and skipping the litigation, and sometimes depending on the levels of collateral that are involved, we go back to compensate.
I'm actually gonna plug the workshop that's happening downstairs right now. It's
Oh.
literally about this.
Oh, word.
It's about non-interactive co-rep, CC sectors, snapping, proof of access.
Oh, interesting.
And it's a workshop literally talking about the stuff that was discussed in Singapore
Yeah.
around ice cube sectors, or like. being
That's
able to,
interesting.
Like, have a CC sector, you snap in data, you can snap out data, you can have proof that you have done a snap on top of a sector, which effectively does
Yeah.
deletion, because you've like snapped, you can prove that you have snapped.
Yeah, I mean, that just moves the business risk for owning the deal to Banyan when the customer deletes, and then we can offload that to our users, which I think is the most elegant solution. Like, Banyan should, like, we signed the deal to basically provide user security. So, like, snapping from
But then
empty
you're not
to
worried about the
snapping
aggregation part, right, where you've aggregated the client's
Yeah.
data amongst a lot of other data, and when the storage provider snaps, they're gonna snap at the 32 gigabyte boundary.
Yeah.
Not at a sub piece.
Yeah, I mean, we already have, like, a deal management stuff. So, like, that's, we'll just support that. That's fine.
That's why specifically why I asked you if you could do with a modulus 32 gig and deleting data.
Oh, yeah, we already pack into car files.
And I'm
So,
here because Web3 Mine has been thinking a lot about how to scope the lifetime of a sector of Filecoin data. And the one thing that I hadn't been thinking about was being able to go the other way at the moment.
what we would do is we would just reseal the remainder of whatever, because we have pretty small like bits of user data, because each change set gets streamed up for us, like append only file system diffs basically. So we'll have a bunch of little bitty cars all in one piece. 80 users change sets of a file system, which is not what Filecoin wants me to do, but sorry. So yeah, we would just like reseal all the rest, or like maybe like snap it into the same sector with just yeah.
All of that stuff minus the stuff you want to delete, and then you could add in whatever.
Just like a diff of Fill Plus, or we could like add like new changes that are streaming in or something. Yeah, like all of these could work as long as you can snap from Fill Plus data to other Fill Plus data.
CC sector, and then you can snap out
Yeah,
pretty fast.
Yeah.
You can snap new stuff in.
yeah,
The thing is, if you start with the deal sector right now.
yeah. You can't.
I mean, it's not like you can't theoretically, you just can't right now with protocol implementation.
Yeah.
One of the
So
reasons
snapping
there's
like
start
verified
always
to
with
verified would be.
You start always with CC and you always do snaps.
Yeah.
You maintain a lot more flexibility right now.
Oh, interesting. I need to look at the implementation of that because I haven't looked at the code. That was after I left Spec Sectors.
Makes it so that you can do the same thing with deal sector.
Oh God, I have no time to write code right now. If you send me a Slack message, I can look at it. Yeah. Yeah.
You mentioned like customers don't want to pay a Filecoin, they want to pay in fiat.
Yeah.
Can I ask that you maybe connect with like Stefan or Andrew on like if we created a fiat to Filecoin converter that like offloads that problem for you into a separate thing?
Then they're buying a security, and then they have to pay capital gains and capital losses taxes. That would. I mean, Filecoin's not a security, right? But then you still have to pay capital gains tax on it, like buying it and selling it, like.
No, it's like you have, so like, for example, the thing that's been suggested for Saturn
Yeah.
is like, there is effectively a bridge contract.
Exactly.
And that charges you a monthly fiat amount for your bandwidth usage. And that contract converts your fiat into Phil.
But that's
at
still
spot,
USDC.
and then-
My accountants keep that in a separate balance area than my US dollars. They do not count it the same as US dollars. And I don't think that any serious accounting firm would allow that for a big enterprise either. USDC is considered separate from US dollars. So that's like, you don't have the tax implications, but you do have the accounting implications. The problems for crypto are accounting, and then it's also key management. And it's also like integration into like, you know, my Zero manages my Mercury, but what manages my crypto wallets? Yeah. And it's a monthly, so they don't have to custody anything. It's just a monthly payment to switch into Phil.
Their role stops at entering a credit card.
But then
Well,
$10 in the payment gateway.
yeah. That could work for someone that wasn't Banyan, because we need money to be flowing back and forth to like create, you know, enforcement ability for the contracts. Like it's consideration. The monthly fee is the consideration for the monthly services too. So like contract, like just from like a, you know, British ancestry legal court perspective, that doesn't work for Banyan. Something a little more decentralized from Banyan, I think that could be a good product. I just don't think there's anyone who would leverage it yet, and there's much more important things to put engineers on right now. So yes, you should build that in like a couple years, in my opinion. But the people would probably use that. The accountants probably would not have a problem with just another credit card line item. But yeah, that would be a problem for Banyan. Yeah. Does that help? Cool.
Receiving Filecoin is consideration and does constitute a contract.
But then Banyan has to deal with Filecoin. Yeah.
You want to be exposed to it as well.
We want to be exposed to it, but we don't want to be making transactions to that effect. Like, it's good to keep it in a little corner where the accountants can have one row on the spreadsheet and they can just do one little calculation after zero, because otherwise I have to pay them a lot more money and then I have to think about it, which I don't have time for.
Yeah, I'm curious, I guess a couple things. So the deals you're doing with SPs, are they all fixed term at like 18 months?
I think we're going to do 6 months. So we haven't actually put a deal on the network yet. We have like this mock SP that like we're just like, and then we pretend we seal it onto Lotus, where we're building a lot of the monitoring architecture right now. I think what we're going to do is a 6-month term, and we're going to offload that basically option to our users.
So you'll have a 6-month minimum.
Yeah, we'll say,
Unsealed copy.
exactly.
And the SPs so far seem okay with a 250 price at a 6-month term.
From the people we've talked to so far, we have margin to go up a bit, but that means that we have to sell more before break even. So I'm really trying to fight to keep it at $250 a month, or we could raise prices on users, which, you know, maybe like we're still again iterating pricing a lot.
And then for your unsealed kind of copy, for lack of a better term, what's your minimum storage duration?
Whatever you want.
A day or 30 days?
No minimum, just click and delete, and we'll stop billing you. Like our billing is like we do all the math ourselves, and then we just like for the duration that you stored a given number of terabytes, then we just send that to Stripe in terms of units. So
Is it daily? Is it like you bill by the second?
we would just compute a subtraction of when you put it on, or when you took it off minus when you put it on, and then I think we bill by terabyte months, but we can fractionalize however low the Stripe API lets us fractionalize. So I don't know. As far as I know, like floating point precision. So I don't know.
By the second. then
Yeah.
per second.
Yeah.
Second kilobyte of storage.
But we're selling the prices by month. So
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So per month. So if you store for a day,
It doesn't get billed as a month. No, it gets billed as a 30th of a month, or like a 31st of a month or something. Yeah.
I see, got it. And then
I can show you our pricing scripts. They're a whole Rust thing in a GCP function. It's hell. But yeah, like that we just computed ourselves and then sent it off to Stripe.
right, I get it. And then my second question is, I'm curious. So it sounds like every SP you work with has to run a bespoke Banyan client.
Yeah.
And it sounds like, I guess I'm curious about what that does specifically. I've heard kind of UCAN permission retrievals. Is that
Yes.
in there?
Yes.
You mentioned monitoring generically. What
So that's still like kind of an expanding feature set, but like what is in it right now is, well, so first off, like you as an SP don't get paid unless Banyan has signed something saying you will get paid for storing this data, so please store it, or you will get in trouble if you don't delete this data, so please delete it. So it's basically like a daemon that responds to all of like Kerberosi requests from Banyan to like do things. In terms of the monitoring, checking uptime, checking internet ping time, checking, I don't know if we're gonna like do the retrieval checking, we may build functionality for that. We've thought about it, but like if our users come to us complaining that like this specific miner didn't serve me my data, like it didn't load, like we'll know pretty quickly, because we're like a centralized entity and we trust ourselves. Yeah, we're probably thinking about like Lotus version, capacity on disks, sealing pipeline of it, like availability, stuff like that. We're gonna like that's just gonna be like feature after feature after feature after feature. So yeah, we gotta like build those in order.
And your SP client requires Lotus and Boost today?
I think so. I haven't been involved in the like I haven't been directly in development since the client work. So I could check with my engineers and get back to you.
Probably hypothetically swap out your Boost node for a Venus market node or your Lotus node for a Venus.
Oh, you mean the specific implementation? Yeah, I don't know. I
You
think
can do both of those.
yeah.
You cannot do markets with.
Yeah, and I was wondering if they'd been
Yeah.
compatibility tested with Venus or
Forest or something.
Yeah. I don't think that we're going to. Yeah. We would love support to do that, but right now my engineers are like very, very, very like they aren't sleeping right now. I don't want to give them anything else.
And then quick question, I know Molly has one. I'm curious, have Filecoin SPs agreed to keep a hot unsealed copy without a sealed copy?
Mm-hmm.
They have.
Yeah. Well, wait. What was your question again?
So have Filecoin SPs agreed to store for you
Yeah.
without putting it on file?
Yes.
And now is that part of your?
We're paying them cash for that.
They prefer to do that.
Yes.
Right, no, yeah.
Why wouldn't they?
Yeah. My question is though, what is the technical mechanism? 'Cause no
Oh.
Filecoin software does that.
Yeah. So that's also part of our that's part of the monitoring stack. I guess it's not really a monitoring stack. That's just how we like sell it. Yeah. So I think what we do is we have a bunch of car files in a Ceph node. And then we also have like a little hash map that I think gets stored back to disk that says this block CID is like at this offset of the car file with this CID, and or it's in this Lotus piece CID, please unseal. So it's basically a tracking of like which miner's storing which encrypted blocks for us, and then we just get it off a disk. It's easy. Yeah.
Consider using the network indexer for that?
Too hard, too much to integrate with. We were just like, oh, this works, and then we're like, okay, ship it. Like we're like in fast mode right now. I think that our car files are not compatible with existing network indexers. They might be. We're using them in a kind of non-standard way because writing to them was really slow, and also like to use the index correctly. First off, our indexes would be really big because we're using non-contiguous DAGs. And like very like weird ways of using it, and also you'd have to read over and compute over the data 3 times instead of 2 times if you're using car at all to compute the hashes of each block and put them before, or you have to seek over I don't know. The car files have like problems that slow down reads and writes, and when I initially wrote the client, I was just like, this thing can never be the bottleneck of anything. It always has to be the internet pipe, and that's no longer our focus. But yeah, we're using cars in weird ways. I don't think we're network indexer compatible. We might be. We really haven't looked into it because we don't need it at all, because the clients store which miners have their data. They store, here's 3 endpoints where I can get my data from. Try them all in order. So yeah, and then we store that as well. So we can, if we re-replicate, we'll update your client as well.
I like the first one.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, I think this is great. I think-
There's a guy behind you too who's been, sorry.
I was just going to say, talking with Alex back in Brussels at IPFS, and he was very excited about FVM coming out. Did you end up using much, because what you're describing here?
No.
Sound like
Our devs tried to use FVM. We were in F1, and retooling, developer tooling to get FVM working was really problematic for them. We also didn't really have a place to use it. We did write a compliance spec that is EVM compatible to post like certificates. For reasons I spoke about earlier, no payments will work at all because our users are just not friendly to that. We would prefer not to engage with FVM or really any tools in the Filecoin ecosystem. I'm sorry, this is really difficult, but like we're like a VC-backed startup, or like we have a finite amount of runway, we have a finite amount of people. We really prefer not to engage with anything in beta unless we have to. This is why we've slapped so many centralized band-aids on the network, because if we're trying to get to product market fit, we can't really be the R&D testing ground unless we're getting funding. So that's, yeah, I'm sorry. I would love to be helping, but that's just our status. We could maybe use it for like posting listings of who's in compliance with what. We would love to mint something saying like, hey, Banyan's in compliance. Banyan says this miner is in compliance for this, that, and the other. They have been for 3 years. They stopped at this point. And we have spoken to Glyph as well about like improving miner, like interest rates or credit levels, I guess, or yeah, credit limits, based on their performance on Banyan. So I guess that would involve us minting to chain. But yeah, we wrote like a Uniswap fork or a Sushi Swap fork and deployed that, and it just, my devs were suffering, honestly. So yeah, I think getting Foundry working would be a really good first step to make it more likely for companies like me to deploy things to FVM. But also, yeah, our user base is just not super hyped about that. Yeah.
You said you're focused on like mid-market enterprise. I was curious whether you looked at like more consumer, because one of the challenges within that is of course like enterprise compliance and those limits. One of the things that kind of came up briefly in Singapore was, hey, from the consumer perspective, these days consumers are actually paying a shocking amount for random ass iCloud whatever that like no one actually truly uses.
Yeah.
That is integrated into their existing systems. Curious if anyone, and open question for the room honestly, if other people have thoughts of like the consumer side of charging for storage.
Would you swap Estuary for Google Drive in your daily life ever? You're a really busy person. Would you do that?
I would add something onto Google Photos that back to my photo archive.
Okay.
I can answer
Okay.
that, by the way.
That's good to know.
I was a member of Wasabi, and we tried BTC, and it's not fun.
Yeah.
When it comes to supporting that, the support call, support the budget for that, it's just a nightmare. It's not worth it for the dollar.
Also, they don't have a big budget, and we're looking at people where we can get a lot of money quick, because I would like to get to break even like next year.
And from a,
Oh, sorry. I would not
Yes,
kill.
same boat exactly, right? The consumer support alone is just like such a beast that, focusing on the next level down and providing that integration and seamless thing and powering the Dropboxes.
Like even Dropbox is losing to Google Drive for consumers right now. Yeah. Because of the integration. It's so easy to use Google Drive. It just works with my email. Like it's,
And they have a really good bot that deals with their inbound.
But also no one expects it. Sorry, I used to work for Google. No one expects Google to have customer support.
until they kill your product.
You have to pay something like $5 a month to have customer support, and it's still shit.
It is, it is.
and from a SP perspective, it just doesn't move the needle enough. We need hundreds of terabytes a day to
Oh,
keep
yeah.
too much going.
I think that's like 5-10 years out, honestly. But we do.
Less from a data volume perspective, and I think more from like it's like the amount of economic inflow into the whole economy, which can, raise the tide.
The few consumers with very large storage needs are open because they're already having to do like kind of like fucked up shit. Like they are running a Plex server in their house. They're running a NAS in their house. So I have these two friends. My friends, we ran a sysadmins club in high school where we all ran Gentoo, and we were actually kind of good at it. But all my friends are freaks, so my high school friends are actually down to use Banyan for their horrifyingly large multi-petabyte movie collections that they have a server rack in their home for. So yes, weird consumers are.
You call
I
those
work-
prosumers.
We call them consumer again. I worked
Oh,
in
cool.
the mid-market before in
Yeah.
this space, and the issue that I came up against was that they didn't have enough pipe to upload their data.
That's so true. Yeah, that's super
How are
real.
you dealing with that?
Our client, you're gonna be so excited because maybe you're not gonna be excited. I'm excited about this. So John talked to us a bunch about physical architectures for sneaker netting. So we have those specs done. We may use the Seagate Live mobiles because they just require even less energy from us. But yeah, we're gonna sneaker net it. My original client was meant to be the fastest damn sneaker netter you've ever seen. Like we show up, we're able to offload a petabyte of data in like 1 working day and then onboard that to a miner in 1 working day because my encryption is like so fast on this thing, and like we're just able to stream data so quickly. We were looking at like direct like subvert the kernel, go directly disk to network card kind of stuff. And then I was like, this is like engineer hell. Like, Claudia, stop. We need to build a product. But yeah, then we have not really had anyone who wants to sneaker net yet. We've had a couple who like seem interested, but again, haven't closed the sales. But then there are also a lot of people who are just in a dire situation right now with their data. Like they've got a rack of 50 hard drives above their desk in their office. Like they send us pictures. It makes me sad. And those people are in such a bad situation right now that trickling off for 2 months wouldn't actually be that bad an experience. And they're pretty used to it already. Like they've done it before to Dropbox. So yeah, there's also services that exist for setting up fast point-to-point peering. Over like, I think it was like radio or something. Like, I don't know. I was like Googling around for these for a second. But yeah, I've just got like a markdown file somewhere on my laptop with like a list of options for when someone comes to us with a truly like horrendous upload connection, of which I think the first person outside of Web3 that we sign is probably going to be one of these. And I'm probably just going to send my like, I'm going to send my junior engineer with a U-Haul and I might come with them. It'll be fun.
I think first Internet Archive data that made it on Filecoin started with like someone showing up, sitting down with a potty in an Internet Archive. To like ship the data to picnic down in
Yeah.
in Vegas.
I'm really excited. I've been like getting hyped about the Banyan road trip for like a year now. So one day.
1 minute warning, that's all I'm gonna say.
Okay.
Oh, so did you say you could, that Elon, you could, encrypt and car a petabyte of data in one day?
Our throughput was a gigabyte per second when I stopped optimizing. So that's 1,000 seconds per tib and 10,000 seconds per pib, which yeah, we could encrypt and car that much per day. If the is that math right? That math might be wrong. A million. Wait, is it a million gigabyte? A million seconds, so it'd take a couple days. Never mind. Yeah, no. So our throughput was a gig per second on a kind of shitty machine when I was told I had to go be girl boss instead of engineer again. So yeah, I was on a bad wormhole. Yeah, we could like probably do that better, but the like problem is always going to be the size of the internet pipe, not the stuff that's happening locally.
For Victor Chen, they're doing encryption on their side,
Oh,
and they can't.
Tomb may not still be this fast after we refactored it. Like it's been pretty heavily refactored, but I could ask my engineers for benchmarks for you if you want
Outbound
that.
is hard to then far exceeds how fast they can encrypt.
Wow, interesting. Yeah, let's talk about that
If you want details, so I'm about 2x what I did with you guys on
with the
$65
ZFS.
platform.
Yeah.
And that doesn't involve any, look, I was using GoCart for my benchmarks.
Yeah.
But if you want to know more about that, I've got a whole inventory of options.
What's extra is before I leave, if you encrypt with Banyan, you get a WASM-based front end. We split the metadata of the file system out from the file contents, so you can load all of their files and click through them while it's still being end-to-end encrypted with our front end. If you encrypt with us, with our tool, like you just get that front end. And I don't know if you could white label anything, but yeah, we should talk. It'll be cool because they can click it.